Great morning, holy brothers and sisters, for the 15th of CHESHVAN in the Kitzur Likutei Moharan. Today's lesson is called Majestic Mastery. A person must know that God takes pride even in the most inferior Jew. Even a sinner still has his own individual beauty, for which God takes pride in him. Therefore, it is forbidden for a person to ever despair of God, even if he has committed great wrongs and has caused tremendous damage, God forbid. For God still does not remove his affection from him, and therefore he can still return to God. The most important thing is that men of truth, because they are able to find the good and the beauty in even the most inferior person, can return everything to God. No one should ever feel beyond hope, nor ever too lost. One can always have the ability and opportunity to come back and close to our Creator. It is undoubtedly true that everyone is afraid and trembles in the presence of a king. Nonetheless, on the king's birthday, when he dons his most beautiful garments, this fear is then revealed all the more, since actually seeing something affects a person more deeply than merely knowing it. As the saying goes, seeing is believing. The revelation of pride, which is also the revelation of fear, leads in turn to the revelation of will or love. For it is the way of the king that on his birthday he dons his most beautiful garments, and then a great fear seizes everyone, and they all tremble and grovel before him. Subsequently, the king reveals his will to each and every person and distributes gifts to each and every one of them according to each person's status and according to the king's will and the love that he has for each and every one of them. This last stage corresponds to love, for initially when the king's pride and splendor are revealed, everyone is seized by fear and awe. But afterward, when the people see the goodwill of the king and the closeness that he feels for every person, they all draw close to him and love him. Even though we must honor and respect with fear and awe, we should always be able to recognize and feel our Heavenly Father's love. Therefore, when the tzaddik reveals the pride that God takes in his people, it is analogous to the birthday of the king, the royal coronation. In other words, the birth of God's kingship. For God's kingship is founded solely upon the Jewish people who accept his kingship, since there is no king without a nation. In other words, if there is no one to obey him, God is not a king. Thus, on the king's coronation, that is, when there is a revelation of the pride that God takes in the Jewish people, at that time especially, a person who sees the king is deeply moved, and fear of the king is revealed and seizes everyone, even the heavenly angels. When the tzaddikim reveal this pride, they also reveal God's will in each and everything. Accordingly, on the king's coronation, which corresponds to the revelation of pride, God's will is also revealed, for subsequently the king reveals his will to each and every person and distributes gifts and honors to each and every one of them in accordance with his will. This corresponds to the revelation of love. It thus emerges that fear and love of God are elicited by the tzaddik who reveals this pride. By being God's people and following in his ways, we glorify his kingdom and make his mastery more majestic. As always, thank you so much for learning together. If you enjoyed this lesson, please remember to like, comment, share, and borrow. And please God, we'll learn again tomorrow.